All right, and we are back for yet another fun episode, and this one I'm super excited about because we're gonna make nachos! My favorite food, nachos. I order them wherever I go, and today I'm gonna make my ultimate nacho. So it's gonna have guacamole, it's gonna have queso, it's gonna have tons of cheese, it's gonna have pickled jalapenos, and of course, some pico de gallo. So let's get started. First, we gotta make that famous guacamole. So I like a lot of guacamole because, you know, I like to dip my chip into it. It's also really good in leftovers. But I think like for a nacho, Doug, are you like for the guacamole or are you against the guacamole?
I'm all about the guacamole.
All right, because some people really like don't like guacamole. I don't really understand why. I know like my mother doesn't really like avocados for some reason, but I love avocados. So I'm gonna do a 2 avocado guacamole. Take my pit out, make sure not to cut myself because I've certainly seen that happen. All right, so 2 beautifully ripe avocados in my bowl. Next, very important thing is salt. Please add salt to your guacamole. Limes. I like lime juice, so I'm just gonna roll it a bit so I can get all the juice out of there. Some people add garlic, some people add red onions, some people add tomato. I like to keep mine pretty like standard with lots of salt, lots of lime, and I have one secret ingredient, tomatillo salsa. We often make it at work when we're able to get tons of tomatillos, but I've got a little store-bought concoction here that works really well. So I'm just gonna pour some of that in. And that just gives it a really nice sort of different flavor, just sort of like zhuzhes it up a little bit. So, do you like yours chunky, Doug, or do you like yours like super smooth?
I like a bit of chunk in there.
He likes a bit of chunk in there. I'm just gonna chunk this up and make sure that it's seasoned properly. I like mine fairly loose so that I can actually dip my chip into that. And now I'm going to set it aside, and the next mysterious, delicious ingredient that's going to go in here is queso, some nice ooey gooey cheese sauce. I'm just going to try my guacamole though. That's perfect. In my pot I have butter that's been melting, and to this basically I'm going to add my flour. Because we're basically making a roux. We're making a white sauce and adding cheese to it. So in goes my flour. And you want to cook this down at least for a minute or 2 because you don't want that raw flour taste. You want to make sure that it's cooked out. Now I'm going to introduce my milk. I'm just going to add it in slowly, and this is cold milk. And I add cold milk so that I don't get any lumps. So once your milk goes in, you want to let this cook for about 5 minutes until it's thick enough to coat the back of a spoon. I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt, not a lot because the cheese is quite salty, or can be. But what I'm using is actually a beautiful smoked scamorza, courtesy, of course, again, from our friendly cheesemaker here in Nova Scotia, Chiro. So this is like an ooey gooey, melty, slightly smoky cheese. So I'm going to add a good handful to start. And Doug, what do I always like to say?
You can always add, but you can never take away.
I mean, can you add too much cheese? I don't know. So let's try 3 large handfuls and let this melt down. And then I have a bit of a secret for my queso. I like to add just a little bit of the pickling liquid from my pickled jalapenos. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there. Ooh, she's looking extra cheesy. Yeah. I think we're ready. Now, this will be a portion for me, Doug, or is this a portion for the two of us?
I expect you to share. I mean, I know you're the nacho queen, but you gotta share.
Do I have to share nachos?
You have no choice.
All right. Well, I will start with my layer of nacho chips.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Where are some of your favorite nachos around town? That's a tough question.
Whew, that is a tough question. How about the nachos I wish I had eaten? The nachos I wish I actually ate were at Home Team Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina. We've been to Home Team Barbecue I don't know how many times. The nachos are loaded with cheese and pulled pork and queso. And every time they would show up, like to the person beside me, I would look at them and wish that I'd ordered them. But instead we ordered everything else on their menu and drank too many Game Changers. So the nachos never happened. So Home Team Barbecue, Charleston, South Carolina, I want your nachos. Our nachos, chips, I'm going to do some of my queso, that cheesy, ooey gooey-ness. I wish I had more interesting words to use for this. And on to the chips. My biggest pet peeve with nachos is if they're soggy. I hate a soggy nacho. You pick up the chip and it just sort of flops. My homemade chili, this is a beef chili. And my secret to my chili is I like to add a lot of smoked paprika. And I do white beans. White beans and pork and beef. A good smattering of my chili. Pickled jalapenos that we make here at work. I love the spice, I love the vinegar, and you can never have too many. More cheese, our blend of more of the scamorza. I have old cheddar, and I also have Havarti because it's a really awesome melting cheese. You can never have too much cheese. I think I have a problem sometimes. I eat a lot of cheese.
You do?
I do. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit of my pico. So that's tomato, more jalapeno, red onion, and cilantro. Not a lot because I do find that the tomatoes can get soggy. And curtido. This is a fermented cabbage and carrot and onion ferment that our friends at Offbeat Farm makes. And the reason why I love it and it's so good for nachos is because they use Mexican oregano and it just has like this really awesome funky je ne sais quoi on the nacho.
It's basically like a sauerkraut.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm gonna call this like a Mexican sauerkraut. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So that is layer one. And I don't know if you've noticed in my pan, I've actually lined it with parchment paper. Of course, the cheese. I'm gonna need a cold beer to go with this, actually, Doug. Just letting you know right now.
Noted.
All right. The chili. These are gonna be like mile-high nachos. I don't know if I want to share this with you. All right. The pico. A little goes a long way. You don't want soggy chips. More cheese. And then we will put on the curtido. Oh, I forgot my jalapenos. Boop. Jalapenos. Curtido. And before I put this in the oven, and I'm of the mindset of low and slow, so like 350 for 20 minutes so that all the layers and all the cheese can melt. There's nothing worse than getting to the middle and having cheese that isn't melted. All right, Doug, what do you think?
Oh my.
Oh my, it's a heart attack waiting to happen.
A delicious, hot mess.
Hot mess? Never. All right. Going to take this 10-pound tray of nachos into the oven for about 20 minutes so that everything can melt together and become one. Here they are, ooey gooey, delicious. They were in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I put them under the broiler because I actually love those like burnt crispy edges. Now we're gonna add our guacamole. I like to put mine on the side so that if you wanna dip it, you can dip as much as you want. So a good old dollop of our guacamole on the side. Good old tangy sour cream. It will be the crema of our nacho. Little fresh cilantro right on top. I love cilantro. I think I've said this before. I actually love it. Little Valentina hot sauce. Are we okay with some hot sauce, Doug? Just a little Valentina hot sauce right on the top. Now, Doug.
Here you go.
Perfect accompaniment.
Can't have nachos without beer.
That's right.
Cheers. To another episode.
To an episode after my own heart, the nacho.
Renée does not lie when she says that nachos are her favorite food.
That's true.
We'll go to the nicest restaurant you can imagine, and if there's nachos on the menu, Renée is ordering them. Doesn't matter if she has no one to share them with, she's gonna order them. So, you know, this is near and dear to her heart.
Lots of guacamole, look at that. Woo!
Yeah. We usually, when we ever have nachos at home, we usually don't have the queso because it's not as fancy and it's usually whipped together. But I'm telling you, it seemed pretty easy to do the queso too.
Oh yeah, super easy.
But we went from salads last week to a heaping pile of cheese and chips this week. So, you know, we're trying to keep a balance going here, but again, make sure to subscribe. Send us your requests for future episodes because we do look for ideas as to what to do next.
So yeah, leave a comment and who knows what we'll do next week.
All right.
Thanks guys.
Have a good one.